In a bustling city where towering skyscrapers kissed the clouds and the rhythm of life beat like a frantic drum, lived a young man named Leo. Leo was bright, ambitious, and full of dreams. He wanted to achieve great things, and he wanted to achieve them now. He launched businesses, started projects, and pursued passions with an intensity that burned like a wildfire. But just as quickly as he started, he often grew frustrated. If results weren't immediate, if success didn't bloom overnight, Leo would abandon his efforts, convinced that the seed he planted was simply not meant to grow. He saw his friends and peers seemingly soar, while he felt stuck in a perpetual cycle of starting over. "Why does everything take so long?" he'd often lament, throwing his hands up in exasperation. His impatience was a heavy cloak, weighing down his spirit and dimming the vibrant colors of his aspirations. One particularly frustrating afternoon, after yet another venture crumbled before it had a chance to truly blossom, Leo found himself wandering aimlessly. His feet, almost unknowingly, led him away from the concrete jungle, down a winding path he'd never noticed before. The path opened into a hidden gem, a magnificent, sprawling garden, unlike anything he had ever seen in the city. It wasn't a manicured, sterile garden. It was wild yet intentional, bursting with life, color, and fragrance. Roses of every hue intertwined with fragrant jasmine. Towering sunflowers reached for the sun, and delicate herbs perfumed the air. In the heart of this botanical wonderland, an old man with kind eyes and hands weathered by time was tending to a patch of young saplings. He moved with a quiet grace, his movements slow and deliberate, yet incredibly efficient. Intrigued, Leo approached him. "Excuse me," he began, his voice still carrying the residue of his earlier frustration. "This garden is incredible. How do you make everything grow so perfectly, so quickly?" The old gardener, whose name was Elias, smiled, a network of gentle wrinkles crinkling around his eyes. He straightened up, wiping a bit of soil from his brow. "Quickly, you say?" He chuckled softly. "My young friend, nothing truly perfect grows quickly. This garden is a testament to time, care, and a little secret I've learned over many seasons." Leo's ears perked up. A secret. This was exactly what he needed. "Please, tell me your secret. I need to know how to make things happen faster in my life, how to make my efforts yield results immediately." Elias picked up a small wilting sprout from a nearby pot. "Do you see this little one?" he asked, holding it gently. "It's struggling. If I were to demand it bloom into a glorious flower by tomorrow, what do you think would happen?" "It would die," Leo admitted, stating the obvious. "Precisely," Elias nodded. "Yet many people treat their dreams and goals like this sprout. They plant a seed, expect a tree by morning, and when it doesn't appear, they give up, convinced the seed was faulty, or the soil wasn't right, or they simply weren't meant to grow it." Leo shifted uncomfortably, recognizing himself in the gardener's words. "My secret," Elias continued, his gaze sweeping over his vibrant garden, "is not about speed. It's about understanding the nature of growth. Every single plant you see here, from the mightiest oak to the most delicate daisy, follows its own rhythm. It requires the right conditions, yes, sunlight, water, good soil. But above all, it requires patience." He knelt beside a patch of newly sown seeds. "When I plant these seeds, I don't dig them up every day to check if they're sprouting. I trust the process. I provide the water, ensure they have light, protect them from harsh elements, and then I wait. I observe, I learn, and I have faith." Leo was skeptical. "But what if they don't grow? What if you wait and nothing happens?" "Then I learn why," Elias replied calmly. "Perhaps the soil needed more nutrients, perhaps the seed was dormant, perhaps it needed a different kind of light. But I don't blame the seed for not being a tree overnight. I adjust, I replant, I try again, always with the understanding that growth is a journey, not a destination." Over the next few weeks, Leo found himself drawn back to Elias's garden. He watched the old man work, not just with plants, but with an unwavering sense of calm. He saw Elias spend hours meticulously removing tiny weeds, knowing that each one, left unchecked, could choke a young plant. He saw him gently prune branches, understanding that sometimes letting go of a part allows the whole to flourish. He witnessed Elias patiently nurse a diseased plant back to health, never giving up on its potential. One day, a fierce storm swept through the city, battering the garden with relentless rain and wind. Leo rushed there the next morning, expecting to find devastation. To his surprise, Elias was already there, calmly assessing the damage. Some plants were broken, others uprooted. It was a disheartening sight. "It's all ruined," Leo exclaimed, feeling a familiar wave of despair. Elias simply sighed, a deep, accepting breath. "No, my boy, not ruined, challenged. This is part of the cycle. The strongest roots are often forged in the fiercest storms. Now we begin the work of recovery." And so Elias began to carefully prop up fallen plants, replant those that had been uprooted, and prune away damaged limbs. He didn't rush. He didn't panic. He worked with a quiet determination, trusting that with time and care, the garden would heal. Watching Elias, something clicked for Leo. He realized that the gardener's secret wasn't a magic formula for instant success. It was a profound acceptance of the natural order of things. It was the understanding that patience isn't passive waiting, it's active nurturing. It's about consistent effort, unwavering belief, and the wisdom to know that true growth takes time, often hidden beneath the surface, before it bursts into visible bloom. Leo started applying this gardener's secret to his own life. He still had big dreams, but now he approached them differently. When he started a new project, he didn't expect immediate grandeur. He focused on the small daily tasks, the weeding of distractions, the watering of consistent learning, the pruning of unhelpful habits. When setbacks came, he no longer saw them as failures, but as storms that tested his roots and taught him resilience. He learned to observe, to adjust, and to trust the process. It wasn't easy. There were days he still felt impatient, days he wanted to dig up his metaphorical seeds to see if they were growing. But he'd remember Elias, patiently tending his garden, and he'd remind himself, trust the process, nurture the growth, the bloom will come in its own time. Slowly, almost imperceptibly at first, things began to change. His efforts started yielding results, not in a sudden explosion, but in a steady, sustainable blossoming. His businesses thrived, his relationships deepened, and his inner peace grew. He realized that the greatest successes were not those that appeared overnight, but those that were cultivated with care, resilience, and the quiet, powerful force of patience. So, what's the lesson for us, my friends? In a world that constantly demands instant gratification, remember the gardener's secret. Your dreams, your goals, your personal growth, they are all like seeds. They need sunlight, your passion, water, your consistent effort, and good soil, a supportive environment. But most importantly, they need patience. Don't dig up your seeds to see if they're growing. Don't abandon your garden just because the first bloom isn't immediate. Trust the process, nurture your efforts, and have faith that with persistent care, dedication, and the incredible power of patience, your garden will eventually flourish in ways you never imagined. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, please give it a thumbs up, share it with someone who needs to hear it, and subscribe for more motivational tales. Until next time, keep planting, keep nurturing, and keep believing in the power of your own growth.